I thought I was just returning a cardboard box. 10 minutes. That's all it was supposed to take. Drop off my boss's things, say a polite goodbye, and walk away from the company and the woman who had quietly changed my life. But when she opened the door, barely covered in a white robe and eyes full of something that wasn't surprise, I realized I wasn't there to return her belongings. I was there to face the truth neither of us had dared to say out loud. And what happened in the next 24 hours would cost one of us everything and give the other a reason to finally start living. Stay with me, because sometimes the most unexpected door you knock on is the one that forces you to confront who you really are. The box wasn't heavy. It just felt that way. Inside were folders, a leather planner, a framed award, and a small potted plant I used to water every Friday when she stayed late. "You're better at keeping things alive than I am," she once joked. Her name was Eleanor Hayes, my boss. Brilliant, controlled, untouchable. At least that's how she seemed in the office. 2 weeks earlier, the company announced restructuring. My department was dissolved. My position redundant. Corporate language for disposable. Eleanor had fought for me. I knew she had. But in the end, numbers always win. When HR handed me the envelope, she didn't look at me. That hurt more than the layoff itself. So why was I at her house on a Sunday afternoon? Because I couldn't leave it like that. Because she forgot this box in my office the day everything fell apart, and because I needed closure. Her house was nothing like her office. No glass walls, no steel gray. Just a quiet suburban home with trimmed hedges and wind chimes on the porch. I rang the doorbell. Footsteps, the latch clicked, and then the door opened. She stood there in a white robe, hair slightly damp, as if she'd just stepped out of the shower. No makeup, no heels, no armor. For a split second, she looked vulnerable. Her eyes widened. Daniel? I'm sorry. I should have called. I just came to drop off your things." She instinctively pulled the robe tighter, not in embarrassment, but in reflex, like someone protecting themselves from more than just cold air. "Oh," she whispered. "I didn't expect anyone." I held up the box awkwardly. "I figured you'd need these." There was a pause. Not uncomfortable. Heavy. Come in," she said quietly. Inside, the house felt lonely. Not empty, lonely. There were framed photos on the wall, her younger self at conferences, shaking hands with executives. A single wedding photo turned slightly inward on a shelf. I'd heard rumors she was divorced. No one knew the details. She motioned for me to set the box on the dining table. Thank you," she said. "You didn't have to." "I know." Silence stretched between us. In the office, she filled every room with authority. Here, she seemed smaller somehow. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "For what?" For how it ended. "It wasn't your decision. I'm still responsible." I shook my head. "You taught me more in 3 years than college ever did. I'm grateful." Her eyes softened and something flickered there. Regret. Relief. "You were never just an employee, Daniel." The sentence lingered in the air. I swallowed. I know. We both knew the line we had never crossed. Long hours. Shared coffee breaks. Quiet conversations about books, about ambition, about fear. She once told me she built her career because she didn't know how to build a family. I thought she was joking. Looking around that house now, I wasn't so sure. "You look tired," I said gently. She let out a humorless laugh. "I am. From work? From pretending." That surprised me. She walked to the kitchen and poured herself water. Her hands trembled slightly. My ex-husband called yesterday," she said. "He's getting remarried." I didn't know what to say. "He said he hopes I find something that makes me as happy as he is now." Her voice cracked on the last word. "I built an empire," she continued softly, "and I don't even know who to call when I have a bad day." The air shifted. This wasn't about my job anymore. It was about her life. "You could have called me," I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes locked onto mine. That's exactly the problem. The room went quiet. For 3 years, we'd maintained professionalism like a fragile truce. There were moments, late nights reviewing contracts, laughter over takeout containers, where something almost surfaced. But she was my boss, and I was her subordinate. Boundaries were safe. Safe meant no one got hurt. "I kept you at a distance," she said. Because you deserved a future that wasn't complicated by me." "You don't get to decide that for me." The words came out stronger than I expected. She stepped closer, not seductive, not inappropriate, just human. "I'm 10 years older than you. So I'm your former employer. A former. I'm damaged. That one lingered. I shook my head. You're lonely. That's different. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. I'm afraid, she admitted. Of what? Of needing someone. That's when I understood. The robe, the bare face, the quiet house. She wasn't exposed physically, she was exposed emotionally. And that terrified her more than any boardroom ever had. I didn't come here for anything, I said gently. I just didn't want you thinking I blamed you. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she did something I never expected. She sat down and cried. Not dramatically, not loudly. I just stayed. Sometimes presence is louder than comfort. After a while, she wiped her eyes and gave a small, embarrassed smile. Huh, you're seeing your boss at her worst. No, I said softly. I'm seeing you. And for the first time since I'd known her, she looked relieved. I left that evening unsure of what we had become. Not colleagues, not strangers. Something unspoken. The next morning, I received a message. Can we talk? Properly. We met at a small cafe halfway between her world and mine. She wore a simple sweater and jeans. No corporate persona, just Eleanor. We didn't sleep, she admitted. Me neither. She stirred her coffee nervously. I've spent my entire life choosing control, she said. A control over emotion, over relationships, over risk. And I'm tired of winning at everything except happiness. I watched her carefully. Daniel, if we explore whatever this is, it won't be easy. I don't need easy. She studied my face as if searching for doubt. She didn't find any. But I need honesty, she said. You'll have it. And independence. You cannot build your life around me. That struck deep. I won't, I said. I want to stand beside you, not behind you. That was the moment everything shifted. Not because we declared love, not because we kissed, but because we chose courage. Months passed. I found a new job, smaller company, bigger growth. She began delegating more at work, setting boundaries she never had before. We took things slow, dinner walks, long conversations, therapy, yes, even that. Together sometimes, separately often. We learned each other outside of titles. She wasn't just my boss. She was a woman who loved old jazz records, who burned toast every morning, who still kept that plant alive on her windowsill. I wasn't just her employee. I was a man rebuilding his confidence, discovering his worth wasn't tied to a job title. The biggest challenge wasn't age. It wasn't gossip. It was vulnerability. Letting someone see you without the armor. 1 year later, we stood on that same porch where I once held a cardboard box. This time, my hands were empty. I'm still afraid sometimes, she admitted. Me too, she smiled. But I'm not alone. Neither was I. And that made all the difference. Sometimes the door you knock on isn't about returning what belongs to someone else. It's about reclaiming what you've both been too afraid to claim. Love doesn't always begin with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with a cardboard box, a quiet house, and two people brave enough to finally stop pretending. And if you're standing outside a door right now, unsure whether to knock, remember this. The heaviest things we carry aren't the boxes in our hands. They're the words we never say. Be brave enough to say them, because the right door doesn't just open, it changes you.